Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm here today again with Joe. He comes in regularly to talk about camera gear and all that kind of malarkey. But today I'm going to ask you, Joe, is it really all about the gear or is it not? I've got to ask that because when you watch all these YouTube videos, there's so many YouTubers that say, oh, this camera's got this, that camera hasn't got that, and you can't take these, you can't take sports photographs. So let's say this as an example. This only does like 6 frames a second. Might be 11, I can't remember. But, oh no, you need a camera that does 20 frames a second to do sports photography. But I've got to ask the question though, do you?
Well, this is the issue, Bob. I mean, in a nutshell, is it all about the gear? Or it's not all about the gear, or is it? I would say you have to remember there is no perfect camera. There is only a perfect camera for the photographer.
Right.
So what's perfect for me is not perfect for you, which is not perfect for somebody else. So it's very, very hard. And this is why this is the age-old conversation of it's about the gear, it's not about the gear, etc. And this is why you have fanboys for certain brands, because they'll say my brand does this, this, and this, and this, and that's exactly what I need. So I'm passionate about that.
So it's very much, so it's a bit like the Mercedes BMW thing, isn't it? If you're a BMW man, Mercedes is crap.
Well, it's not quite like that, no, because what it's more like, Bob, is it's more like it's more like if you've got a Porsche.
Right.
But you need to actually take a bunch of wood down to the skip.
Right.
You actually need a truck, or you actually need some sort of van or something. Do you see what I mean?
I see what you mean.
So it's more like that because it's the use. I mean, each vehicle will get you from A to B.
Right.
Mercedes or BMW will get you from A to B, and it's different types of luxury.
Right.
But what I'm talking about is the practicality of actually using the item. So it's okay saying, right, I'm going to go on some dirt roads, but I've got a Porsche. Or you go, actually, I've got a Land Rover. You see, the Land Rover is much better for that than the Porsche would be. But then you go, actually, I've got to get from A to B really fast on a nice flat road. Then the Porsche is going to go a bit faster.
That's a tremendous way of explaining it. So obviously certain cameras, like a DSLR, this is well, you need to go to weightlifting lessons to use this thing. I mean, it weighs a ton. Yeah. Seriously, audience, this is a Canon 5D,
it's a Mark
whatever,
III.
Mark III.
Yeah.
It weighs... Well, it just weighs a ton. I've got so used, you see, to my little mirrorless cameras that don't weigh, well, they weigh something, but they don't weigh a great deal, you know. But you, I mean, you lug that around. I use that in a sort of a loose term, but you've got 2 of these, at least 2 of these when you're out doing your weddings. Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if you can see that.
I mean, that's a.
There you go. Whoops, there goes the microphone.
So that's a that's a 5D Mark III with a 24-105 f4 lens on it.
Right.
It hasn't got any battery grip or a flash, obviously, or anything on it. That's just the basic sort of way that I carry it around on a wedding day. Again, Bob, it's comparisons, isn't it? Because it's heavy compared to the camera you're picking up, but there's also cameras that you could pick up that would be light compared to. So it's all about what you're comparing it to, I guess, as to whether that's heavy or not.
But where is the flippy, tilty, wilty screen?
No, it's not on there, is it, Bob?
No. So when you're doing low angle shots, you actually can't see. With my lovely little mirrorless, whether it be Sony, Canon, Nikon, it don't matter. So this has got that, you know, tilty wilty screen.
It is, yeah. And again, Bob, it's the classic comparison that maybe I don't do those low shots. I'm not shooting ants on the floor or trying to go down into the grass and shoot up a bride's nostril. I'm not trying to do that. So the most flattering angle is always down. So, I mean, you can say it tilts this way and it goes down. And I don't disagree with tilt screens because I love the tilt screen on the little Fuji X70 I have. But it's for my professional use. If it did have a tilt screen, I would use it. It doesn't have one, therefore I don't use it.
Right, okay. So there isn't, I mean, obviously we both know that manufacturers are steering away from DSLRs apart from Pentax for some reason, and going to mirrors. Even Canon got apparently their new R5s, the R6, the RP, whatever it is, are phenomenal cameras, and the lenses make them phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what makes this such a phenomenal combination, is the lens quality that Canon makes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was the reliability,
Wow.
the dual card slots. There's lots of reasons why I chose this
Got
camera.
a bad list now.
Well,
I've only
there
had
you
it
go.
for
Maybe you do
a
need
couple
to
of
hit the
minutes.
gym then. So yeah, there's a lot of good reasons why I've chosen this camera. However, there is a list as long as my arm of why I would want to shoot, say, a Sony A9.
Right.
And I made a list of all the reasons why that would be a much better camera for my purposes.
Right.
However, I haven't shot one and I haven't reinvested in it just
No.
because of the amount of money it would take to reinvest
Of course,
all my kit.
yeah.
However, it's all about the tool for the job. And if the tool makes the job easier, I mean, just as an example, the silent shutter and the tilting screen and things like that, when you do want to get a top-down shot of the cake, for example, say it has a very nice design or something.
Yeah,
it's very
being
easy.
able to do that
Exactly,
is one. I should imagine, not that I've ever done it. I should imagine that's like, wow,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
beautiful.
And I can just shoot it, obviously, just by winging it, by just holding it over and shooting a few frames and then picking the best one.
And obviously, because you've got a screen on the back, you can see anyway.
Yeah, you can get around it. But also, like I mentioned before, I think to you before, Bob, is that sometimes I like the limitations because the limitations can help with creation. So you can use a limitation of a camera to actually come up with something that you wouldn't have done if you were looking at it in the screen in the back and you were composing it perfectly. Whereas you put the camera down, take a few random shots, and you go, "Oh, I wouldn't have thought
I can
to
understand
do that."
I can completely understand where you're coming from there.
So not that I think this DSLR is limited. It's great, but I just mean in general. I don't mind limitations of a camera. I think it's part of the charm of a camera that helps you create and get around it and helps you create your own style and helps you create original images.
I've just got so used to having the electronic viewfinder. You see what you get. Obviously, from a video point of view, mirrorless is the way forward, and so as a hybrid camera. Although you use it for video as well, and you get great results. I've seen the videos you've done, amazing.
Yeah. I mean, same again. You could use your phone and get great results, Bob, in the right circumstances. And this is always the issue: is the circumstances.
Right.
If we're going back to the original question, which is, does the gear matter? It doesn't matter until you need it to matter. So you can take an amazing photo on an iPhone and blow it up massively. They've done it in the advertisements. You can do it under the perfect conditions. However, in the not so perfect conditions, the images will fall apart. And low light, for example.
Yeah, weddings.
Yeah, general, things like that. Just the general sort of run of the day and how fast everything is. Mirrorless or DSLR? Short answer: doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Now, to one person who really needs the features of a mirrorless camera or really needs the features of a DSLR, if that really matters to them, then this question is a massive question. To somebody like me, it makes no difference. Is the image quality good? Is it reliable? Will it perform as a tool, not as a toy? Will it perform as a tool under the constraints of a job? Then it doesn't matter. Why would I care?
This is why it's great, because it doesn't matter to you, but it matters a whole lot to me. Firstly, because, that's enough for me. The weight is just like, wow. That's just like,
You like the easy life, though, Paul.
Yeah, I do, yeah. So, okay, fair enough. You're completely right. It doesn't matter. The end result, if you know what you're doing with it, it doesn't matter at all.
I don't think there are many people that would ever look at a photo, and I'm not just talking about the general public, I'm talking about professional photographers that would look at a photo from across the wall on a printed and go, "Oh, I bet they used a mirrorless for that."
No, you're right. They wouldn't.
Well, it's not that they wouldn't be able to tell away. No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But even if you're looking at a digital image on your phone and you scroll through and go, "Oh yeah, I can see that's micro four thirds." They don't do it. They just sort of go, "That's a great picture," or "It's not a great picture." And to sort of talk about in general what we're talking about here, Bob, I genuinely believe that a lot of people like to talk about equipment because it's very sort of linear in the sense of it's either I like it, I don't like it. It's very easy to rattle off a spec sheet.
Yeah.
It's not so easy to actually talk about photography itself.
Right,
so
that's true.
A lot of people enjoy talking about the gear because they don't actually want to talk about what they're supposed to be doing, which is going out shooting and having fun and taking images and making projects and studying light, buying books. So instead of buying equipment, I would suggest people would buy more books or more learning or take courses and things like that to improve as a photographer, because obviously the camera doesn't make you a better photographer. And a lot of professional photographers will say, "Oh, the equipment doesn't matter." But it really, really does matter. And I know that's a complete switch because in the certain circumstances, it matters big time.
Right.
Yeah? Like I'm saying, a sports photographer with a camera that only does X many frames per second. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, 100%. No, a sports photographer would still, do it, but it would be very restricting if he or she goes out with a camera that only does 3 or 4 frames a second.
And another example now, if we were moving on to the next slide, Bob, is about the full frame.
This has become a really, really contentious sort of, I don't know why again, really.
It doesn't matter. Because,
it doesn't matter,
Because the portrait photographer will say, I want a full frame because I want that beautiful depth of field and this and that. The landscape photographer would say, I'm super happy with a Micro Four Thirds because the lack of depth of field that you get is a bonus to me because I want everything tack sharp from front to back. So again, I'm generalising on those two, but
if you look at Micro Four Thirds as an example, now I've got here the Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II. The Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II. I so hate Olympus naming. I mean, why can't it just be called the Olympus EM1? So this is the OMD EM1 Mark II with a 100 to 300 lens on, as we can see there. It's for Panasonic 100 to 300. In full frame terms, i.e., in your terms, that would be a 200 to 600.
Yeah, right.
And you wouldn't have a cat and mouse chance of hand-holding, successfully hand-holding on that camera a 200 to 600 lens. I don't know how big that would be. This is an f4. I think it's f4. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. Might be f3.5, 5.6, whatever. But if you were out hiking, I'm sure even if you're doing, maybe if you're not doing something professionally, but that's a massive weight difference between that and that.
Yeah, and that's without the equivalent lens on it.
And that's without the equivalent lens on it. Yeah,
105,
So I still think there is a market for Micro Four Thirds.
Of course there is. There's a market for all three of them. That's why they exist, Bob.
But will they exist in the coming future? I don't know.
Of course they will. Yes, of course they will. They'll all continue on. I mean, not forever. Nothing's forever, Bob.
No, nothing's forever.
For the foreseeable future, all of these three, because everybody has the need for the specific one, like I mentioned before, the landscape photographer is going to be trekking around and wanting, but when you do the comparison of this lens, the equivalent on that, you would never be able to handhold, but I wouldn't be hand holding that, Bob.
No,
you'd have no need for that.
No,
that's just me personally. If somebody did decide, okay, I want that equivalent at 200 to 600 or whatever on a full frame DSLR, they're going to have to be packing a tripod. And that's just the way it is.
And a hefty bank balance.
But if they're going to go with that, then that's what their thing is, So, and you can't base all of your you can't base. I'm not just talking about you. I'm talking about you. So try not to base assumptions on just things like the weight, because this is much heavier or this is much lighter. Because somebody who's in their early 20s, for example, won't have an issue carrying a heavy DSLR because it's way cheaper than buying the brand new mirrorless camera.
Yeah, indeed.
So they'll put up with the extra weight. Because the bank balance it won't.
No, that's completely understandable. And also Micro Four Thirds is great for video. You know yourself for GH4s when that was introduced, phenomenal, just completely revolutionised video. And you still have one, and they're great cameras. The GH5. So there is still a market for Micro Four Thirds, and I love the grip. I just love the handling of the EM1 Mark II. I mean, it's a great camera. 2 card slots. But then there's obviously the APSC, which is the middle ground, really, isn't it, between the full frame. If you want to get a next step up for low light, or you want better. I say better image quality. It's a hard thing to say, isn't it? As you've been saying all the way along.
The only people that really care about the quality, the high quality, are people that are doing a job that requires that amount of quality, or pixel peepers. People that are zooming in 500% and saying you can see the aberrations here, and you can, because, like I said, it's very easy to take an image and fault it technically. However, what really matters is the image crap or not. Not quality.
Of course,
Is the content, is the lighting, the composition, is it a good photo first? Then you could say, I mean, some of the best photos, some of the most recognisable photos are not technically correct.
No.
Which obviously back then people were shooting with the, different types of cameras but now we have all of these technology and all of this equipment, and I'm guilty myself. I have a lot of equipment, keep talking about, and I'd say we as in photographers, professional photographers in general, we talk too much, I think, about the gear, and not enough about the photography. Lots of people talk about photography, of course they do. What I'm trying to get my words straight here is that it's not as important as people are making out. So the gear is not as important. And here's what I want to say: the gear is not as important as the companies selling it want to make you believe that it is.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But when it comes to the question of is it important, could you do this with a 35mm film camera and shoot it? Yes, I could do it, but the result's going to be way better if I shoot on a full frame DSLR in low light. Do you see what I mean?
I do. So I completely do. But I do love new gear. I mean, like the little Sony ZV-1 there. Now that's got this product showcase mode on. And so you stick the camera in front of it and it'll automatically focus straight on it. A year ago, that wouldn't have been possible, and it makes, but what I think the modern gear does, it doesn't cure something, it makes it a lot easier to get a professional looking shot. Does that make sense? I don't even sure I've worded that right, but it's particularly in video. The gear does matter, I think, when it comes to video. Although we're getting overkill now because we've gone up to 8K, and half the time that don't work anyway because it overheats, particularly with the Canons. So I'm told. I don't know, but it isn't. I don't think with photography quite so much as it is with video, to be honest, because there's been so many more advancements with video, with codecs, bit rates, getting higher quality 422 codecs compared to 420 codecs, your S logs and your V logs compared to your straight Rec 709. So every new camera, think, wow, that's great. I can now do broadcast work with that, or I can now do this. So I think where the manufacturers are looking at isn't advancing in stills quality, but in what it can do video related.
Yeah, and I mean...
I think that's where does the gear matter. I think I would say, actually, breaking this right down, I would think, yes, it does when it comes to video. A newer stills camera like this will produce better video and easier to produce better video than the previous model of the same range would have done, if that makes sense. And it's completely true. This is the A6100, which is the most horrid colour, but I got it at a damn good price. And this does produce better quality video than the A6000, because the A6000 was only HD, this is 4K, amazing autofocus, etc, etc. But on a used or new, now I think this is I've always loved this particular topic, because I do believe, and I know you can buy fantastic cameras at great prices if it's the previous model and you're buying used. Now I'll give you an example of that. The A6500, which is this one, at the moment I seem to have all Sony cameras around me, but there we go. I'm not a Sony fanboy, honest. So this is the A6500, tilty wilty screen, 4K video, blah de blah de blah. Now this one you can pick up various auction sites such as eBay, second-hand, around the £600 mark. Could be a bit more, could be a bit less. I got mine for 560, and I thought that was a really good deal, body only. Where the new replacement one, which was actually filming us the wide shot over here, new, it's 1,400 quid. So it's £700 difference between the previous model and the newer model. Now, is that £700 justified? The manufacturer will say it is, and most reviewers will say it is. But I can tell you now, this will take equally as good of photographs as what the A6600 does.
And I think, Bob, we're again back in a circle, because it's dependent on the person using it. Because
it is.
If you only need, for example, not in this comparison, but if you only need HD footage, why would you spend the extra to get the 4K? If you don't need facial recognition, why would you spend the extra?
Go for the A6000, which is only about 300 quid second hand.
It all comes back to the point of the person who's buying it. And their needs. If they don't need those extra features, why would they pay for those extra features? And it also matters on your budget.
Yeah.
So
let's say, like, use the A6500 as an example, as it does do 4K, and you can put that 700 quid towards a decent lens.
Well, you could, yeah. Or you could put half of that towards a lens, and then you could use the other half to do a course, or the other half to buy some books, or to see what I mean.
See, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So you could, instead of spending all that money, you could use that money to go on a trip somewhere.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Take some photos of a brand new country and experience a new culture.
Yeah.
You know, instead of buying the latest and greatest. You see what I mean?
I can completely see what you're saying.
So especially in the early days when you're learning, get a cheap camera, learn how to use it, move up as you need it. I mean, people are so. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. The gear acquisition syndrome. Everybody likes new gear. You said it earlier. You really love new gear. I love new gear. I love learning about new gear. And I have an issue as well where I'll buy something and I go, "This is such a great piece of kit, but do I really need it?"
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the problem, Pop, is that these companies, they say, "This is what you need. This is what you want. Look at what you can do," and then you sort of realise. Yeah, I do need that. You buy it, and then you go, well, it stayed in my kit bag for the last 4 weddings, and I've never used it.
And it ends up on eBay later in the year or next year.
Exactly, and I'll just buy something that I will actually use.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so in my response to used or new, used.
Right, and me, I'm a used man as well.
Yeah, no different than buying
most of my kit I buy used, or I buy nearly new or refurbished or whatever.
The only way I would say buy new is if A, it's a tax dodge. You're doing it to just spend as much money so you don't have to pay the tax on it, or B, is that you need the reliability, that you need to know the history of the camera.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
Can't take the risk that somebody dropped it 6 months prior.
Yeah,
you need that reliability, once in a lifetime thing. Yeah, one camera only. You're going to need to buy that new. You've got 2 cameras, one breaks, you've got the other one still on a wedding, for example. So saying used or new, I bought new, both the 5D Mark III and the 5D Mark IV. But I bought loads of used equipment as well, Fujis and
I bought new. My Z6s were new. I've bought many new stuff.
Yeah.
But where I can, I will buy used. I mean, the A6600, I couldn't buy used. There's just none available.
That's why I was happy about the A9 II coming out.
Right.
Because now the A9 I will go down, and do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
And now I can actually get one. I had no need for an A9 II, but an A9 I has loads of Mark I has loads of features that I could,
you could make use of.
Use, yeah, definitely.
And one last, we've covered this so many times, but just quickly, one card slot or two, doesn't matter. Let's keep this short. It does. I think it does for you because of redundancy with weddings and shows and corporate events or whatever it might be. But
again, it's another conversation, Bob, which a lot of people like to talk about, which again, it is down to the same fact of, annoyingly, that without sounding repetitive, it's about what the person does. If I'm going out shooting my kids or just going out and shooting things, one card slot is plenty. If you're shooting a wedding and it's your own business and you are responsible for explaining to the bride why that card went corrupt, even if it's 1 in 1 million, Bob, you still will not take that chance. Especially if your company is putting food on the table for your family, you just do not want to take that risk based on the whole, well, you don't keep a camel in the boot when you go for a car journey. No, you don't. We only used to have 1 roll of film, but 1 roll of film was only 36 exposures. Yeah. We're talking thousands of images or hundreds of images can be lost by either dropping it when it comes out or just it becoming corrupt. It's just not worth the risk when there's something really important on that.
And I do think manufacturers are listening. I mean, they are listening because Nikon, as an example, the Z6 has got 1 XQD card slot, supposedly indestructible. That's why they went with it. The new camera, the Z5, which is underneath the Z6, is entry level, 2 SD card slots.
Yeah. Because they know so many people just went, nope, not having it. It's got 1 slot. But again, I mean, could I use it? Probably. I could probably use that camera for the next 5 to 10 years with the same card, never have an issue. But will I take that risk?
No.
Yeah, so one card slot or 2, Bob. For me, it matters. For other people, maybe not so much.
And that's it.
There we go.
There we go.
So to summarise then, Bob, from my point of view, gear is amazing. I love it. I love getting new cameras, finding out the quirks, finding out all the little different things that it can do and it can't do, and trying to work around that. I actually enjoy reading the manuals and finding out things about cameras. However, when it comes to the actual art of photography, I say the art of photography, when it comes to photography in general, the gear only matters so much until... You get what I'm saying. It matters, but it also doesn't matter, which obviously doesn't even answer the question for this video. So maybe cut that bit out. But that is the true answer. It matters and it doesn't. I can't put it into words what I'm trying to say. Maybe I said it earlier, Bob. So
you may well have said it earlier.
Maybe just cut back to that.
At the end of the day, Joe, I don't know if we've helped anyone or muddied the waters even further. Who knows? But really, who cares, to be honest? Yeah. We love what we do. We all use new gear, old gear. You still shoot on film, so that proves that the gear doesn't matter, because you're still shooting photographs on film, not video, obviously. So there we go. So thanks, Joe. Really appreciate you coming in again. Thanks for taking up the time. I know it's interesting times for you at the moment. Your wife is about to give birth. Could be any day this week.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you do. I really do appreciate you taking the time to come in and do this. And once again, thanks very much. I'd like to thank you, the audience, for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. That does help me grow the channel. Really, really appreciate that. And I really appreciate everyone who has subscribed. It's been great because Joe will tell you, I don't earn much money from this, very little money from doing running my YouTube channel. I earn nothing from doing my podcasts. So I do it for fun. Yeah. And it's great fun. It is. We love it. We love it. We don't always agree, but in fact, quite often we actually agree to disagree, or is it we disagree to agree? I don't know, whichever. So once again, thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography. Thanks again. Bye for now.